Hey everyone, I'm the Broken Meeple. You might remember me from such reviews as I Got Suckered and How Not to Judge a Game by Its Cover. That really should have been the slogan underneath the name on this one, but we'll get on to that a bit later. Today I'm looking at Otys. This is a new Essen release from Libellud and Pearl Games, although Libellud's the main one I know, and it's very much not what you expect from this box, okay? I mean, I'll get onto it now. Why not? Look at this. Okay? Look at that. Nice looking cover. You gotta admit, that looks gorgeous. The big statue there, it's underwater. There's the diver there, you know, swimming around and all this cool stuff. What impression does that give you when you think of this game? Do you think like some big grandiose, you know, almost like Reef Encounter thing where you're huge underwater maps and, you know, seeking and exploring, that kind of thing? Was that on your mind? Yeah, wipe that clean right now. Because what this actually is pretty much a semi-abstract puzzle game where you're essentially manipulating these 8 divers up and down this chain in order to collect collect findings from the bottom of the ocean in order to get victory points. You know, it is so much an abstracted game with this theme that it's almost unreal. And it's a shame in that respect because the artwork on this is really good. I like the way the components are done. It's generally a high production quality game. But it's like most of the theme in this game is represented on the cover as opposed to anything else in this entire game. Now it sounds like I'm really going to town like hating on this. Not entirely so. Essentially what happens is that you have 8 divers on this board. And the idea is that you're trying to collect cubes, effectively, from the bottom of the ocean, supply them for contracts, and get victory points. So collect the different colours on the different levels, cash them in, get victory points, pretty pure and simple. Except that each diver has a special ability. You can only activate certain levels once before you then have to activate other levels and get the tiles back. That also triggers special abilities. And very much it's a puzzle game of trying to work out the best way in order to have your divers in the spot you need them at the right time. Because every time you use a diver, it will resurface back up, unless you utilise another resource, batteries, in order to keep them where they are. You've also got the propellers, which allow them to shift up and down, and all sorts of puzzle-like shenanigans. It's very much like a streamlined set of gears that all work together. Doing one thing makes another thing move, which makes another thing move. It doesn't feel clunky at all, though. It's very, very smooth. But you have to understand going in that this game is not the thematic escapade that you think it's going to be from this box. It is very much a puzzle game. Now, in terms of the puzzle aspect, I mean, is it fun? That's the main thing, right? And it is. That is the good thing here. At first, I thought, you have got to be kidding me. Seriously? This is what you're giving me? This thing? Puzzle game? And I was so disappointed that the theme was not utilised better. But then I got into the game itself, and I started to really enjoy that puzzle aspect. The premise itself and the rules are actually very simple. Yeah, you have to teach a few of the abilities and a few of the sponsor abilities, so that can take a little bit of time. But the turn sequence is dead simple. Activate a level, collect a sponsor bonus. Activate the diver, utilise its ability. You have basically tokens to represent the levels, put that down the bottom, send the diver back to the top, push the others down, end of turn. Next. That is literally your turn. You can do little things like shift them up and down and spend batteries to keep them in one place, etc. But apart from that, that is generally the turn sequence. So it doesn't take you long to actually get into the game. It will then take you a little bit longer to sort of realise, oh yeah, I need to have them there and there. And oh, I could cash this contract in. Oh, but I need another one of those blue cubes. Diver's up there. How do I get him down to this level in order to get myself a blue cube? There's very much that ongoing puzzle-like nature throughout this entire game. And it's not a long game. You can be done and dusted with this with 2 to 3 players in about an hour. It actually is quite quick. Now, I will say that despite the fact that it's quick with 2 to 3 players, this goes up to 4. Don't bother. Well, to an extent. Basically, adding players does nothing but add time, with one exception point. Basically, you have one diver that, with an advanced variant in here, allows you to pay money to another player on your left or right in order to utilize their diver. It's a cool variant and you should use it in every game, but it only works with your left and right neighbor. So that is pretty much the only reason you need to play this with free players. But free players is relatively quick. You have just about enough time before it gets back round to you to think about your next move, assuming you haven't already. 2 players, it's great. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, nice and quick. Unfortunately, there's no solo mode in this. They really could have done with putting one in. That would have been cool. I mean, it's a puzzle game. Was there no way you could have done a solo mode, like efficiency or time or limited number of counters or something? I don't know. But it's pretty pointless playing this with 4, because literally nothing changes. The game doesn't scale with other players, it just literally adds more time. You have to wait for more people. One player on the opposite side of the table you have no interaction with whatsoever, because they're out of range of your spy diver, I think they're called. And aside from, will they complete your public contract on display or not, that's literally the only interaction you have. Even the players on your left and right you only have a little bit of interaction with. So there's definitely like a sort of multiplayer solitaire feel here. So you kind of have to understand this going in. But again, these sound all like negative points. And, well, they are negative points in a way. Multiplayer solitaire, no solo mode, the theme not representing what it gives off of the box, another thing. But, good stuff. The puzzle aspect is very engaging. I enjoyed it, and it's not brain-burny, but you have a lot of decisions. You're trying to think, what's the best way I can use my divers at their respective levels to achieve the goals I need? The game does not take very long. As I said, about an hour. It will take about 90 minutes or so with 4 players, and that's why I say it outstays its welcome a bit. But yeah, 2 or 3 players, you can be done and dusted in an hour, and it's a pretty speedy game. Everything looks the business in here, some very good artwork on all the components. Your player boards are half good. Basically, the player boards have the cut-out indentations on them, in order to slot the tiles and the divers in. Great. Well, half. Basically, the tokens that you use to represent the sponsors, they slide in perfectly. Great, no problem. You have cutaways at the bottom of the sort of right and bottom side of the tile in order to slot a technician and a hacker in and some other tokens. Great, that works well as well. The divers, the well that they slot in is a little bit wide, so yes, you're meant to slide them across, but you find yourself like if you imagine like my hand is the set of divers, you end up with a kind of sort of lopsided feel on occasion. You find yourself constantly having to shift them back to keep it straight, especially if you've got OCD. But there's areas where they don't put, cut-ins, and it seems weird. I mean, okay, it's nice having the tiles that you can slide and something for the technician and the hacker, for example, but you have to put cubes on this player board, as well as some other tokens. Those bits aren't cut out, there's just spaces for them. Really? Cubes are the one thing I really want a cut-out indentation for. I mean, hello, terraforming Mars much? We want things to slot the cubes in so they don't rattle around all over the place. I can deal with a thick diver tile. I can maneuver that to my heart's content, but cubes, they go everywhere. So I don't know why they sort of put in half the effort to make like half the board great and brilliant, and then sort of skimped out on this other half. Maybe it was just because it didn't work practically when you cut away so much of a board, but then, Stonemaier did it with Scythe, so I don't see why they couldn't have done it here. There's a bit of a nitpick on the components, but hey, it had to be said, people noticed it while we were playing. In the theme, as I said before, is completely non-existent. You will forget what it is you're even doing. You're supposed to be going underwater to pull up, lost technology and artifacts and that from the bottom of the ocean and bring it back to sell for profit. They're represented by 4 colour cubes. I guarantee you will forget what each of those colours is after about 10 seconds of play, because it really makes no difference. The iconography doesn't even go into any way of attempting to make you remember what each of them were meant to be. It's just basically the colour cube with a weird looking symbol on it. that has no relevance to whether they were metal, tech, plants, or whatever. So the theme in this is pretty much dead on arrival. You really got to realise that the box cover is kind of misleading in that regard. But you're not playing this for a thematic experience. You're playing this for a 60-minute 60-minute light puzzle game. And you'll certainly get that. It's not that expensive a game either. It's pretty cost effective. The insert is a little bit odd with this, but basically they give you like a Velcro cover to put components in. That's all well and good. And you think, yeah, that's amazing. I wish all games did this. Until you realise that the dividers inside are so low that if you were to store the game vertically, the components will go over the dividers. Yeah, you kind of missed the mark with that one. So I have to put them in bags and then put them in there and then put the Velcro lid down. Well, what was the point then? I mean, if you store your games horizontally, you're not going to have a problem, but vertically like I do, yeah, problem. So there's not a huge amount else to say. It's just a light, engaging puzzle that plays best with 2 to 3 players and takes about an hour. There really isn't much else you can really say about Otys, just that you have to be aware that it's slightly misleading. So not much else I'm really going to talk about it, really. It's decent. I enjoy it. I don't think it's amazing. I feel that the slight issue is replay value. You always use the same 8 divers. And yes, you can upgrade them during the game, but it's the same 8 divers. You have 5 sponsor tiles in order to use special abilities, and these can be flipped over to an advanced side, but you're not likely to mix and match, and even if you do, it's not worth it to that degree. You either want to use all the basic for teaching the game, or all the advanced ones because they really change up how the game plays. But again, that's only going to get you so far in the replay value. So my issue here is that you're going to enjoy it for a while. It's going to be a decent game, but maybe you won't be wanting to repeat play this all the time, and you may sort of feel like, I've played it enough times, I'm kind of done with it. So definitely not one that you're going to go repeat play, but I still enjoy my time with it, and for something that only takes about an hour, at least you're going to get it to the table quick, and it won't take too long to teach. The rulebook actually appears more complex than it actually is. Not to say it's badly written, but it's a fairly largish rulebook, and you're looking at the text, it's like, okay, how much have I got to learn here? Oh, and then you realise that more than half the book is just telling you what the divers and the various abilities do. There's literally, I think, about 2.5 pages worth of text to represent how to play the game from start to finish. Pretty straightforward. So I think that's all I can really say. If you want an engaging, light puzzle game that doesn't care too much about player interaction but looks the business, this is one to check out. Personally, I can only really go as high as to give it a 7. That's my own personal thing. It's something I enjoy. It's something I'll play, but I don't know if it's one that's going to go the distance or last the test of time. But hopefully you've got the gist of this review to warn you that you are not getting some thematic, grandiose epic here with that cover. You're getting a light puzzle game. If that's your thing, check it out. If you are after something epic, then you might want to stay away. Okay, that's it from me on this episode. I'll see you next time. We've got plenty of games to review throughout December. See you soon. Take care.